Decided that I was just going to climb riskily, which is essentially not waiting to feel until a foothold or handhold is weighted before moving, but kind of moving as if it is on like one-touch climbing.
Hey y'all, welcome back to The Struggle. It is me, your host, Ryan Devlin, and you are the listener, and oh, I'm so happy you're here. We got a good one, guys. Oh, we got a good, I mean, look, every week we got a good one, but this week we got a good one with young crusher Hamish McArthur. You probably have heard the name. He's a bit of a prodigy. I mean, I think he joined the Great Britain climbing team at the age of 12, if I'm correct in that, and then just went on like a tear as a comp climber all the way up most recently to the Paris Olympics, where he finished fifth. Fifth is really good, y'all. And then just exploded on the outdoor rock climbing scene. I mean, he's just been a crusher for forever, like his whole climbing life. But not too long ago went on just a groundbreaking, mind-blowing tear of outdoor boulders, culminating in a trip to the U.S., with sending V17 or Font 9A Megatron in just 5 days. And then a few days after that, heading over to No One Mourns the Wicked, a V17 or 9A, and sending that second go. What? I couldn't, like, I knew it happened and I couldn't believe that it happened. And then we rehashed some of that in this conversation because he shares how he did this, like specifically a finger grip and training method that he used that really unlocked some of these really hard positions that he puts his hands into, and also very much a mindset shift that he has been able to implement and explore himself as a climber, and one that I really, really took a lot away from in this conversation as it pertains to how he moves on rock. He moves so fast, lightning fast. If you've seen this video of him sending No One Mourns the Wicked, which is the low start to Defying Gravity, just an incredible boulder. And if you watch that video, he does the low start, this like Nathaniel Coleman traverse into Defying Gravity in seconds. It's the craziest thing. And he uses a mindset and a vision technique and a climbing technique that he goes into in great depth in this conversation. So I'm really excited. Actionably, there is a ton. There's a huge meal of bouldering technique and tactics in here. But then far beyond that, we really kind of go down these esoteric tapestries of exploration into climbing and motivation and mindset and just where he's at now as a human and a person and a climber. And we are all human people climbers who are listening to this right now. So I think you're going to get a lot out of it as we swing wildly across all of the landscape and what it means to be a climber and, in his case, an incredibly high-performing climber. And I want you to make sure you stick around to the end of this one, where he talks about his goal, his dream, his plans, even his training, to flash one of the hardest and most iconic boulders in the world, Burden of Dreams. And then that dovetails into the bonus episode. If you're a Patreon member or an Apple subscriber, he really goes into details on what his plans are for Finland and how he might try to flash this iconic boulder, holy smokes. And also the V18 that or potential V18, nobody really knows, but that he's planning to scope out there, as well as a bunch of other really, really cool bonus stuff. He answers listener questions. He was a very gracious guest. He gave us a ton of time, so let's not waste any time. I'll do a little climbing update on the back end, but right now, let's just jump into some V17 Wiggly Air with Hamish McArthur. It's good to meet you. How are you?
You too, man. I'm well. Sorry I evaded you for so long. It was nothing personal, I promise.
It's all good. I was so shot in Squamish. I feel like if we had gotten together, like when we were trying to get together in Paradise that one day, I honestly probably just would have curled up on some mossy boulder and taken a nap. I was just like wrecked from that week.
Yes, me too. Me too. It's tiring.
That Squamish granite, man, that's something else. Like, it was beautiful and gorgeous, and I found it very, very hard to rock climb on.
Yes, I think that's the case until you've spent enough time there that then everything else feels really hard. And Squamish Granite becomes like, wow, this is so friendly and effortless to climb on.
Yeah, yeah, it
I
was.
like
I
it.
shot a little video with Drew Ruana, and he was just like so confident and comfortable on it, and I was just skating all over it. I mean, it didn't help that it was very, very hot that weekend, but I don't. I can't really blame the conditions. I think it's just a granite thing, and I haven't spent much time. I mostly climb on sandstone, so my
Right.
feet just didn't know what to do with that granite, man. It was beautiful though, beautiful out there.
I'm glad you like. Was that your first time out there?
Yeah, it was my first time, and what a time. I mean, Arc'teryx really knew how to throw a party, so we had a great time just, the whole weekend. And then I just kind of dabbled. I did some bouldering, I did some single pitch trad, I did some multi-pitch trad. I just tried to sample everything and not get sucked into, a project or whatever, and it was lovely. How about for you? Do you go out there often?
Yeah, I've spent quite a lot of time there now. I first went out for the Arc'teryx Academy 3 years ago, I think. I think this was my third year. And I don't know, ever since I was a kid, I really wanted to live in Squamish or just like spend a lot of time there. I watched First Descent, the climbing film with Cobra Crack
Oh
in it,
yeah.
as I don't know, my first ever climbing film, probably when I was about 12 or 13. And that, I think ever since then, I've just like some part of my mind has just been set on Squamish. So going there for the first time was like, yeah, no, I see why. I see why I felt that. And then I've been back
Yeah.
a bunch for the academies and also around them. I probably spent total of like 5 months there, total 4 or 5 months. So
Oh, very
decent chunk.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why people get sucked into it. And speaking of Cobra and First Descent, Sonny Trotter was out there. I got to spend a little time with him. Were you able to meet up with him? I think he was up at Paradise Wall for a little bit doing some stuff.
Yes, I managed to meet him, which is a cool moment for me. I don't have many climbing heroes, but it's kind of different with him because of this whole first ascent thing, which drew me to Squamish and I think really set some intentions for my life that kind of brought me there. So I was like, yeah, no, he is a bit of a hero of mine. It was really cool to actually meet him and obviously really, really nice guy. And there just aren't many people who've been established in climbing for as long as he has, who have such a good reputation. It's like usually people pick up something, but he's
Right.
like, it's just, I've only ever heard positive things. So,
Yeah, he's as kind and as cool as he seems, which doesn't even seem possible, but just what a guy, and yeah, an incredible climber. And how interestingly full circle. I don't know if you've put much thought into this yet because you're obviously still quite young, but you've moved from, new fresh climber into this upper pantheon, being at the top of the competitive circuit and the Olympics and V17 climbing, and so you said you don't have many climbing heroes, but in an interesting full circle way, you're now a climbing hero to many climbers. When I let the community know that you and I were connecting, I got a ton of questions for you and just so much respect and excitement. And have you been able to wrap your head around that transition, that evolution as Hamish the climber?
I would say no, not quite. Yeah, it's weird when it happens so quickly, although nothing changed that quickly within me. But then very suddenly I reached a threshold where it's like I could do things which made me stand out a little bit. And yeah, it was kind of overnight you have to update kind of expectations of how people will interact with you, which I don't love because it doesn't feel like I've changed that much, but I definitely do get more attention and more people are just like speak with me and are really friendly with me and all of this stuff, which obviously comes from
Yeah.
having more exposure. Yeah, it's a little strange. It's because I just don't feel like a big deal most of the time. But then, like in my personal life, when I'm approaching a competition or a project, I still do approach it with the mindset of I could be the best climber in the world, and I can still do this really hard thing, but without kind of making that assumption.
Hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's cool to it's not often that one gets to kind of explore these moments when someone is becoming almost another version of themselves, not you as the person. So there's you, Hamish, but then there's like Hamish McArthur, the climber, which is almost like a persona as opposed to a person. And yeah, how interesting that you're quite aware of that. It's probably nice to be aware of it and to touch base with kind of how that feels and what that's like. And also hopefully enjoy the ride, because I think that attention that you're getting, and this interview is part of that, and you know, I'm sure the many other interviews that you've done and the films that you're making and all of that, sponsors, all of that has been earned. You know, there's nothing that seems like it was unearned, and it's a product of respect, I think, and admiration that the attention's coming, and a lot of hard work. And so yeah, it's nice that you probably feel like the same guy, but from the outside, you're getting all this attention right now. And is it enjoyable, or is it uncomfortable to kind of be Hamish McArthur, the climber, the superstar climber now?
I see it as a responsibility that I try and take seriously to have a platform. Like I really just don't see any point in having a platform if you don't take that seriously. Because I mean, I just know so many incredible people who have so much wisdom to share, like in ways that I who don't have a platform to do that. And then there's me who has gained a following through doing hard climbing, and I really just don't see any point in having that following for the sake of showing people how hard I can climb, and that's it. I like it. I like the opportunity that is presented, because I do generally feel like I have some stuff to share that I've kind of learned along the way, but it is a bit of a responsibility, and it does feel like that.
Well, that sums up everything that I'm excited about having in this conversation, which is that, you know, every week I talk to one of the best climbers in the world. I've had the privilege of having these incredible conversations, from Lynn Hill to Alex Honnold, and now here today with you. And one of my favorite parts of my job here is that I get to peek behind just the climbing and the training. And one of the things that spoke to me the most in just getting to know you as a climber is this more kind of creative, artistic, thoughtful, poetic side that is clear in some of the work that you put out that's non-climbing work, but also a little bit of like a counterculture kind of vibe. So yeah, man, I'm thrilled. We'll talk about finger strength in this one, but then we'll just we can talk about some really esoteric, crazy stuff as well. So I'll start with a softball for you. You know, we'll ease you in here, Hamish. What is the meaning of life?
Wow. The meaning of life. Well, obviously, that's a very personal thing.
You're actually going to try to answer it. I like that. Let's go with it. Yeah, no, let's continue.
Well, I mean, the way I see it, because I mean, everyone thinks about it. It's a cliche question, but everyone has their own sort of thing. I kind of feel like life as a whole thing, like without it being necessarily about me, has a kind of inclination towards going somewhere good. That's kind of where I'm at the minute, is there's a bit of a slope towards lowering entropy and kind of smoothing out the chaos, and hopefully that's towards a place where there's more love in the world. I feel like that's my optimistic answer. I feel like it doesn't really depend on like how I answer the question. I feel like that's just what life generally does.
I hope you're right, dude, because it feels like we're at like entropy to the max in the world right now. So maybe this is just like the madness before it all starts to come back and make a little bit more sense. I hope that's the case.
I feel like such a fucking hippie saying that and sipping my mate from a little straw.
No, it's great. I love it. These are the vibes that I need kicking this off here. And I should say for the audience that I'm connecting with you right now, you're in Seoul and just finished qualifications and you're kind of resting. You got a couple days off before going on to the semis. Is that right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, semis and finals are 2 days from now.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. It looks like a pretty hyped crew out there, and y'all are just ripping some hard stuff already. It seems like it's going to be a great semis and finals. How do you feel? How are you feeling about competition climbing these days?
I'm pretty chilled out, I'll be honest. Yeah, it's like, I guess compared to the rest of my experience as a competition climber, I just feel so relaxed at this event. It's like I feel like I've got to a place just because I've climbed outside enough that I don't feel any need to compete anymore. I'm not like trying to, get a name for myself or, find sponsorships from it necessarily. Like I'm at a place where I feel like I could have my dream career as being an outdoor climber. I've established that in my life and I could just run with that. So being here just feels like, I don't know, a bit of fun. I get to see people that I've not seen in ages. That's kind of the main thing that I'm enjoying about it. And then also I've just started to see it like, if you take any class, so take yourself. Okay, so roughly what grade are you climbing? Like
V grade. I'm on this road to climb my first V8, but I'm a few grades from that still. I'm kind of like a V5, V6 climber right now.
Yeah. So like imagine if you got an invite to this event where they were going to get the best route setters in the world to set you a round of boulders around like V5, V6, V7 perhaps on the best holds in the world in a really cool city in the best venue in the world. And then you got to go out with all your friends and climb on the boulders that were set just for you. Like you feel like, holy shit, what is this
Oh yeah.
setup? And that's kind of what I've got with competitions. It took me a while to realize that, but it's just so cool. And once you take out the like professionalism in it, it's just like, it's sick. It would be a real shame for me to continue being ungrateful in this situation and being overwhelmed by stress and not getting to like just enjoy the weird cool setup that I've got out here.
Oh man, I love that perspective. It's one that I imagine has evolved over the years. I would think that earlier Hamish was probably nervous and you had expectations or performance pressures and thoughts of failure and all these things as people experience earlier in the careers. And now that you've achieved much indoors as well as outdoors, you can come in there with a little less expectation or pressure. But I feel like it's hard to start that way. You almost have to like earn that point of view.
Yeah, to a degree. That has been my journey exactly. I was a ball of nerves and like absolutely terrified of this kind of thing when I was a kid. I mean, when I say when I was a kid, up until like a few years ago, like it weighed on me really heavily.
Right.
And so it feels like I have earned it through success, but I feel like more than that, it's been like shifts in my mind have recently allowed for this success, which has kind of allowed me to feel this. So I don't think it's just tied to success. I think it's more tied to like perspective changes, but then it all gets messy and entangled, and it's kind of hard to say exactly why I feel like I do, but I'm glad I do. It's allowing me to actually enjoy being in Seoul, whereas in the past I would have just always had other things on my mind.
Well, great, man. I'm glad. I'm glad that's the space that you're in because it gives us this opportunity to connect and just shoot the shit for a little bit here. And I try to structure these interviews. I mean, we can wander on any number of tangents, but I'll try to structure them into these chapters: training, nutrition, tactics, mental game, purpose, creativity. So we'll touch on a variety of different things here, and I got a lot of listener questions that people were excited to share if we have the time at the end here. But I always enter in through this lens of struggle because the show is the struggle, and I feel like that's a thing that kind of brings all of us climbers together, regardless of the grade that we're climbing, the V grade or the YDS grade. But we all define kind of our experience with struggle differently. And I'd love to hear from you what struggle means to you and what your relationship is with struggle as a rock climber.
That has also changed a lot over the last few years, especially. I now see struggle as something that I just try and avoid, really. like for the longest time, my approach to it was that struggle was a necessary part of success, and that success came after overcoming or enduring, more than overcoming, enduring years upon years of struggle, and that's how you got to be where you wanted to be. But now my current philosophy with it, which I know will change again in the near future, right? I can already feel it starting to happen, but but I just try and avoid it. I just see struggle essentially as friction in the system. And first of all, in the climbing world, because that's the easiest way to put it, it's like if there's friction in the system, which is kind of getting in your way, then you're not going to be able to perform at your limit, which is important to me, given my lifestyle and my job. But also just in everyday stuff, it's like that kind of friction is just it's just unhelpful. It just gets in the way. It kind of impinges on the entropy lowering life that we spoke about earlier. It's like fighting back against that almost, and trying to let go of that struggle, or finding ways to not see it as necessary, just as something that is happening that you're doing to yourself almost, can be really helpful for like achieving what you want, and that achievement is a feeling, really. Like I'm not speaking just about getting grades done, or like winning competitions, but all that you really have, your only currency is how you feel about what you do. And I think without struggling so much, the kind of what you define as success just becomes like feeling good and feeling happy. And I end up just like feeling way happier with this mentality, or having way less stress.
Are you a spiritual person, Hamish?
Yeah, I'd say so. There's a lot of baggage in that word, but yeah.
Yeah, there is. I mean, it's a big, and this is not the the podcast to dive deep into, you know, the canon of religions or anything like that. But were you raised like in a specific religious focus or structured religion, or, you know, what's that experience kind of up to this point?
No, both my parents are fully atheist. I think in my school, I think there was maybe one or two kids that were religious that I knew out of thousands. So it's like I definitely grew up in a very secular place.
Right.
Yeah, my mom is kind of interested in Buddhist philosophy, and she was a yoga teacher and kind of has started doing Zen meditation classes and stuff a bit later on in my childhood. But that's about, yeah, all the influence I got. My coach as well has had some kind of influence on that. He had his athletes like doing meditation apps from quite a young age. But other than that, it's just been an interest which has kind of deepened and deepened and deepened. Like I just find it fascinating to think down these kind of channels.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I have maybe picked up on a little bit of like some like Buddhist undertones. Of course, Buddhism is a philosophy and not a religion, but I digress. We don't need to go down a whole rabbit hole here, but I find it very interesting. And as we revisit kind of the mental game, I'd love to explore deeper some of the mindfulness or meditation practices that you just noted from your coach there, and anything else that you feel has been helpful for you as a climber, but also just as a human being. But we'll first start with far more important things like finger strength, Hamish, and just training in general. I mean, you've been in the competitive climbing scene for quite a long time. You are performing at the highest level out on rock, and a lot of people wrote in and are just curious about what you're doing to train as a rock climber.
Yeah, my training's a little funky at the minute. I've not like formally trained from like following a training plan since before the Olympics. So about a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Right.
Or I've not followed a training plan, but for the like, I don't know, 7 years up to there, I like had a training plan that had like hour to hour stuff on it, where I was climbing 6 days a week. But yeah, 6 or 7 years. So that's my base, essentially, is having followed this very rigid, structured training plan, and like getting really strong physically and having this really solid physical base. And then, yeah, I kind of got to a point where essentially I injured a finger. That was the catalyst for change, is I popped a pulley. I was like, oh shit, I can't like actually train anymore how I wanted to. And that really just helped me. Well, I guess through like just not training, I noticed that I got better at climbing. I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's something here. So then I kind of ran with that, and I really just stopped training. Like I still climb a lot. Like I climb, I don't know, it changes, but like up to like 5 days a week probably now. So less than I used to, but sometimes 4, sometimes 5, sometimes less. It really depends day to day. And I still do like some stuff in the gym, but it's all based off feel. It's not sets and reps ever really. It's it's just based off feel. I just have this kind of intuition now built up for what my body responds well to, and I just follow that completely. And most of what I would say like my like training is what has kind of replaced this rigidity is a really strong focus on what my intention is in each session. And that's not something which I put into words before. It's not like I say, okay, this session I'm gonna try and do this. It's it's like a finer resolution of intention. It's like on each move, really paying close attention to how I'm feeling, how the holds feel in my hands, how much force I'm putting through them, and just being very creative with it. Like always not assuming that like I have the basics dialed and I just need to get stronger and I'll get better at climbing, but really assuming that there are so many tricks and like really fundamental things that I can learn still that I just haven't ever figured out. And one example of this I can give with finger strength, as that was kind of highlighted, is I would always crimp, like in a half crimp, and the final joint of my finger would be flexed, like usually on a crimp. So like your fingers kind of
Right.
bend back a little bit at the end, and that's just normal half crimp. And then I was just thinking, well, then like if I could apply more pressure through that end joint, then not only is that a healthier position for my fingers, but it also allows me to apply more pressure like downwards on a hold and like inwards on a hold. It really changes the way that you hold something. Like if you have an in-cut hold and you can kind of create a claw at the end of your hand, which is just as strong as the middle joint, then you can like pull in and it really changes how you climb. And also if you can just apply more pressure through each joint, then it just adds up and you just get stronger fingers. And I'd never thought about this before. Like not once had I trained the end joint of my finger to be strong. But like for granite climbing, especially, I've noticed this makes a huge difference because you find yourself on really subtle holds that you can't like necessarily half crimp. Your hand is just flat on a sopa and you have to apply these like different pressures through each finger. And if you have the control to do that, then you can just hold stuff that you couldn't hold before. And there are so many little things like that which you can like start to think about. Like we have not solved climbing biomechanics even slightly. There are just tons and tons of small things that make massive differences. And yeah, that's kind of what's been inspiring to me recently is trying to uncover these things. It feels really creative.
That's fascinating, just that concept. And so for the listener who's not watching this, what Hamish is saying is like essentially when you're in a half crimp, the forwardmost joint, I think it's the DIP joint, distal, I think. Somebody can correct me on that, but essentially when you put pressure on it, it kind of flexes down like concave. But you're saying you're like creating an arch in your fingertips and like kind of clawing down. So rather than that joint flexing down, it's staying kind of arched, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah.
And in doing so, you're able to kind of push down more on your fingertips than the pad on your finger, but also it's in your training, you've discovered that you can make it stronger that way. And so I guess once you became conscious of that concept, how did you deliberately try to train that up, that joint there?
Yeah. So I would just for periods of time do stuff in my warm up that would help. I think a really good way to illustrate this is if you take a campus rung and you know just hang it and you put your feet against the wall and you lean back so your arms are straight. If you're in that classic half turn position, you're just gonna fire off because you can't pull. You can't, how to put this? It's like the end joint is what needs to flex to like stop you falling backwards essentially. Whereas if your fingers are
Right.
flat at a 90-degree angle, you're gonna fire off. So I would just do stuff like that. I would play around with hanging two arms on big edges with my fingers in that position. And I found initially that I couldn't hang my body weight really in that position. And and then over time I could hang my body weight. And that's like say I've gained 10 kilos, like I've strengthened those fingers by 10 kilos in that position. And that just means I can apply 10 kilos more force in that position, which is like
Yeah.
a hell of a lot of, that's like, it makes a huge difference in some stuff.
That's so interesting. It's also interesting to hear as trained as you've been as an athlete, that when you discovered this, like you couldn't hang body weight, which I guess makes sense because it's a very kind of aggressive, if you will, or specialized grip. It probably actually hurts to put that much weight on the fingertips, but this is different than, if I'm understanding correctly, different than a full crimp where you would wrap your thumb over the fingers. You're basically in that vertical, almost full crimp position, but just holding onto it with the fingertips and not using the thumb as the aid.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, yes, similar to a full crimp position where like your knuckles are against the wall and your fingers are forced into that arch position, but just, training that up on everything. And like, you can just climb in your warm-up, just do some really easy stuff and only hold stuff in that position. Climb some V0s and V1s and only use that grip. And you'll find how hard it is for your brain to communicate with your fingers, to stay in that position if that's not muscle memory. Like it was just so hard to just even hang like that and to get that feedback. And if you have a bad connection between your mind and your fingers when you're climbing, then there's just no harm in that. I feel like this would be my one like big tip for finger strength, especially for outdoor climbing. On uneven surfaces where you have to apply different forces through each finger, if you've played around with this kind of stuff, then you just have that connection and you can just apply forces in ways that you couldn't before. And outdoor climbing is so subtle, especially in somewhere like Squamish.
Man, it's wild to me that that's just like something that you discovered about yourself fairly recently and then have applied to your climbing, obviously. And so is this kind of grip, if you will, does it have a name? What is it called?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure about it. I don't think it does.
You should name it.
I feel like I would have to name it after Daniel Woods. I feel like he's really good at that. Like that's something which he has done naturally for a long, or not naturally, but he has done for a long time. And I went to the gym that he's trained a lot at in Colorado, Cats, and I understood so much more about his climbing from being on that wall. Like everything is just kind of set in the way that he climbs, which is he does some things which are unfathomable to me, which doesn't happen all that often in climbing, that someone does something where I'm like, I feel physically strong, but I cannot even imagine being able to do this move in this way. So yeah, I feel like he gets some credit for this. Watching his climbing is what kind of sparked that idea for me.
This episode is supported by Rungni. Y'all know Rungni. It's Magnus Mitbo's company. Oh my gosh, they make incredible stuff, you guys, okay? Chalk, apparel, accessories, chalk bags, chalk buckets. It's all there over on their website. What are my favorites? Okay, well, right now, I'm using their liquid chalk every time I go out and have a session. It's called Mag Juice, first of all. So boom, you've already got my money. But then, it works really, really well. I rub it on my palms, my fingers, and it's like my base layer. I don't then have to chalk up as much when I'm climbing, whether it's a gym session or out at the crag. Less time chalking up means more time actually climbing and hopefully landing moves and not punting off my project. And then the apparel's fantastic. My absolute favorite, I think you guys know this, are their harness pants. They are stretchy, they are durable, they are attractive. I love the cut, I love the feel. They are the best dang pants in the game. And right now, you can get 10% off pretty much everything over at Rungni by using code STRUGGLE. This episode's brought to you by our friends over at Rhino Skin Solutions, and Rhino has been saving my hide recently, quite literally, actually. After this climbing trip that I had in Squamish not too long ago, I heard that rock was sharp, but man, is it sharp. And I am so happy that I prepared my skin ahead of time by using their tip juice, put it on my fingertips every night, and it gave my skin like a really tough yet pliable condition to it. And then while I was climbing every day, I did 5 days on out there like a psycho, I used their repair cream. So I would climb, I would wash my hands immediately after climbing and then put on the repair cream. And using that combination, the tip juice and then the repair cream, really kept me going while I was in Squamish. And I'm just going to keep it going now as we are entering into the fall performance season here in North America. Y'all, I don't think there's anyone out there that's doing anything close to what Rhino is doing in terms of skincare for climbers. So if you're climbing hard indoors or you're climbing hard outdoors, check out everything that Rhino has to offer. I couldn't recommend it enough. And Rhino's making it easy on you. They're going to give you 20% off if you use code STRUGGLE at checkout. I'm going to put that link right there in the show notes. It helps to support me so I can keep making these shows, and it supports you because you're getting 20% off. So check it all out, and good luck with your send season. I think that's such a unique insight. For me as a climber, as like predominantly a trad turned then sport climber at the Red River Gorge, I just tend to like open hand and drag everything. So for me, when I wanted to start focusing on bringing up my power and my strength and bouldering, and I've set this goal for myself to climb a hard boulder and this kind of thing, is I had to learn how to just like even half crimp well, let alone like full crimp. I almost never use that. And now this is the full crimp. This is the Woods McArthur. It's like that super high angle. I think Aiden uses that sometimes. I've seen him like on those like really gnarly like cellar boards where it's just like you just kind of are clawing in. So, all right, well, there's definitely like layers and layers of growth for me here before I really implement this. But the concept of it is really cool. I love that you discovered it. You've been working on it. And is that something that you now find as your go-to? You've mentioned Squamish. We haven't dove deep yet into Megatron or No One Warns the Wicked or some of the other like, really, really hard blocks that you've worked on out there outside. But is that just an arrow in the quiver here, or do you find yourself using that now in place of like a half crimp, for example?
I think it's not really an in place of. It's more alongside is how I use it. So I still, for the most part, half crimp with flat fingers because that's what most holds require. Because most holds require you just going up, really. So like you don't necessarily need that. One place where I used it very specifically that I remember, because this is when I was like first starting out with this idea about a year ago, and I was playing with it a lot. And then I went to Squamish and I flashed Fool Me Once, and it was on that boulder which I really applied this, because you're just like hugging this fridge, and like if you were to put your hand flat on a surface right now and like try and apply force just through the ends of your fingers, and that's essentially what you have to do on that climb. It's like you're just practicing applying as much force as you can through those end joints. And on that boulder, there aren't really holds. You can't you don't have space to like crimp stuff. You're just compressing, but you need to like apply as much force as you can through each crystal. And that's the climb that really stands out where I've used this. It's so interesting because it's the climbs where I've used it the most. It's like that like super techy kind of highball friction climb, and then also like board climbing is the other place where this can be so helpful. Is anything where you need to keep your body close to the wall. So it's like that image I said earlier of like leaning back from a campus board. It's like needing to pull in as you move up, and this kind of hook just allows you to pull in more, which is really helpful on board climbs to stay close to the wall on steep terrain.
Well, no doubt. We've seen how efficient you are at dispatching some of the hardest board climbs. That might be a good thing for me to actually ask you about before we shift to a new chapter here, and that's just as you're training, when you're not outdoors. You said you're mostly climbing now, and what do your gym sessions look like? How much time are you spending on boards versus gym set problems, or just kind of training? You've mentioned campus rungs and any number of other things.
So I'd say the biggest portion of what I do when I'm in a gym is spray wall sessions. That takes up most of my time. It's either kind of like slabs, like super comp style slabs or coordination, or spray wall, really. And I do board climb kind of in between that, but at the minute I'm doing a lot of hybrid days. Like I'll slab, spray wall, and board climb in a day. But this is also coming off like the last month and a half really before the World Champs. I didn't climb inside, I just climbed outside. And then I went home for 2 weeks and I had like a comp training camp, I guess. I like started comp climbing again and doing all these coordination moves and slabs and dynos, and like practiced climbing on plastic essentially. So then it was really focused on like competition stuff. But then I also have outdoor projects. So in the mix of all that, I was like doing some like replica training for specific moves that I want to get stronger at. So it's all very loose, I would say. But it feels way better than following a plan. Because like if I have all of these different goals and I try to put it in a plan, like I don't have the brain power to do that. Like that just seems like an overwhelming task. But I also have a brain which thankfully does a lot of this work for me, and I can just like trust my subconscious to kind of lead me in the right direction. And it seems to. Like it's a hard step to take to trust that instead of just trusting the science. But once you've done it for a while and it gives you good results, then it becomes easier and easier and easier.
You have the discipline to go in, like without a coach yelling at you or somebody guiding you, you have the self-discipline to go in and not just go towards the thing you're good at or the thing you want to do or the fun thing, or like you'll walk in and be like, you know what, I'm going to go after my weakness today.
Yeah, but I would only do that if it's the fun thing. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with just doing what you're good at or what's fun. Because if you can just do what you're good at and what's fun, and you can do that to a high level, then, you have a job in climbing as well.
Right.
Like, you don't need to be a jack of all trades to kind of be a professional climber. And especially if you're not a professional climber, you really don't need to work your weaknesses unless it's something that you want to do, unless you get some kind of joy out of that. And it feels right. It doesn't necessarily have to feel fun, but you just know it feels right. And I feel like, it's hard to remember how this felt in the past, but right now it feels really obvious when something feels right. It's like that's what I'm gonna do. And that does tend to align with what I'm good at. And I really don't think there's anything wrong with prioritizing your strengths either. Like I feel like generally what you like and what you're good at is what you're going to be better. It's like what you're designed for in a way. Like we have a feeling in us for what our role is, and not that there's some genetic design to like have people be good slab climbers and like people be good board climbers or whatever, but like different parts of climbing all encompass different skills and different life skills and such. And I think just following what's fun and what you're good at is totally fine. I just think that's a good way of doing it actually. Like, 'cause I can't really argue for doing what isn't fun. Like that doesn't really take you anywhere in the long run, in my view of it.
Yeah, this is the therapy session that I needed today, Hamish. I appreciate this. I need to let myself off the hook and train a little bit more fun. But truly, jokes aside, that I think that's a beautiful and refreshing concept and is in line with what you noted earlier with regard to trying to remove struggle and remove friction from the system. And if training a weakness is fun, or you see it kind of laddering up to something that you're really psyched on, a project that you need to work on a certain skill for or whatever, then great, you're going to be excited to do it. And otherwise, remove the friction from the system. Cool. Well, I think that gives us a great opportunity to talk about kind of recovery, which we've touched on a little bit. You noted a finger injury and maybe dialing back a little bit. You're not going as hard as you had in the years past. But also I'd like to talk about nutrition in this. So kind of a two-hander. Let me ask you first if there's any area that you've struggled.
Well, I don't think this section is going to be too long because I don't really have much insight. Like yesterday, I had pizza for breakfast and an almond croissant for lunch. So,
That's flipped. That's reversed.
Exactly. That's showing just how little I understand on this topic. Yeah, I guess I've struggled with them because they're two topics that haven't made sense to me, really. It's like I struggle because I hate following science when I don't have a feeling for it. That's really what it comes down to. Like with recovery, say, like having an ice bath doesn't, like my instinct is not to have an ice bath. That sounds horrendous once I finish training. Like there's no part of me that's like, what would feel really good right now? Like when I get home in the winter from a hard training session, like, what I really want is cold. Like that's never happened. And so like to have a routine in which I'm routinely doing these things I don't want to do and don't
Mm.
feel right. It's like even if there's evidence for it, I think I personally am going to respond better to things or a lifestyle in which I'm just like doing what I like. Because realistically, with recovery, stress plays a massive role in that. And if you're always thinking along the terms of, oh, I should do this, I don't want to, but I should do this, and like overriding, that's a stressful feeling. You know, that's a stressor to feel like you're not good enough yet, and like you have to
Mhm.
follow these rules. That's a stressful thing, and that is in some ways going to offset the benefit of the ice bath if it feels like an obligation. Whereas with me, I've been lucky enough, I guess, because it could just be that I'm not optimized at all. I'm like I would be so much better and happier if I did all these little things. But I've been doing pretty well without like just
Right.
stretching when I want to stretch. And like one day I'll realize that, oh, I'd be so much better at climbing if I could just stretch a bit more. And then I'll stretch a bit more and it'll be fun and I'll enjoy it. And then I'll get more flexible and I'll forget about it. And then a couple years later, I'll have the same thought and be like, oh, I should start stretching again. And that's the same with nutrition, really, for me. It's all feel based. It's like thinking, what does my body actually want right now? What do I actually want right now? And like there's a yeah benefit to not overthinking it, which sometimes does outweigh the downside of having pizza for breakfast. It's like yeah, on one hand, like that's not great, but we just don't really like cause and effect just isn't simple, because say
Right.
I have terrible nutrition and I get a stomach ache. I have a really bad stomach ache the night before a competition. And like on paper, that's terrible. But in this one circumstance, perhaps like I can't sleep because of that stomach ache. And like I end up, listening to some like music at night and I hear something which really inspires me. And like eventually I fall asleep and I'm a bit underslept. But the next morning I listen to that song again and then it like changes the course of my day and I have a really great competition. That's a totally feasible situation, but if you get down about the fact that you're not optimizing yourself,
Hmm.
then that is the thing which affects the competition more than the like nutritional side of it or recovery side of it.
I do love that perspective. The kind of we'll see, it's the what's that old like parable of the farmer whose son breaks his arm and he's like, everybody's like that's so terrible and he's like we'll see, and then they come to draft him for the army and they're like, oh, you've got a broken arm, you can't go in the army. And so I really do love that. And by the way, I will say this: I think pizza is actually like the optimized breakfast food. It's like perfect balance between carbs and protein, and you've got some vegetable sauce on there. Anyway, I'm a big fan
Yes.
of pizza for breakfast. But it is, Hamish, it is like kind of wild to hear you say you're so far from optimized because you're one of the highest performing climbers in the world. And I remember having this conversation with Chris Sharma about sport climbing as well. We were talking about training. He's like, yeah, I never really train. I haven't been into it. I don't hangboard or anything like that. I'd probably be better if I did. And I was like, Chris, like, do you think the world could have its first 516 if you would just do a little bit of hangboarding? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. I just kind of like to climb. And here you are saying like I'm far from optimized, and you climb V17 in a few hours.
I mean, it's a trade-off as well. Like imagine you take Chris Sharma, right, and you make him train. Like you'd have to change his mind in order to make him train like that. And he's no longer Chris
Right.
Sharma. He no longer shows up relaxed and like doesn't overthink the like crux move and like actually does the route. Like the actually doing the route is the important part of it.
Right.
It's like it doesn't matter if you're strong enough to do the route and you don't do the route. Like that's not what anyone cares about. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to actually do the thing. Like this approach seems to allow me to be better at actually getting over the finish line, to actually doing the thing instead of being strong enough to do the thing for years and years and years and years and having this barrier that stops me doing it like that.
Hmm.
I don't really care for that. I'd rather be like a little less optimized, if that is the word, but like, be able to execute and like move on. Like I just don't want a long-term project in my life right now. That just doesn't sound fun.
That's good. Just go out and send the hardest things super fast, like you've been doing, and you'll that so far that plan's working for you. Well, perfect opportunity, in fact, for us to talk about tactics, project strategy, and we can bring in some mental game as well, which is my favorite chapter or area to explore here on the struggle. Let's talk about tactics and strategy first. Would love to look at it mainly through the lens of Megatron and No One Mourns the Wicked, Defying Gravity, but kind of the way all of those were pieced together. And we can explore this however you want. But let's maybe talk about that. I got a lot of questions in about projecting strategy. And you just remarked about how you don't want to take on super long projects. And I guess so far you haven't had to. What is the longest project that you've worked on? How long did Megatron take? It's like one of the hardest V17s in the world.
Yeah, it does 5 days. Yeah, that's the longest I've been on anything and done it.
5 days is the longest you've projected something and done it.
Yeah. I think the only other boulder maybe tried on more days than that is this like one climb on a Kilter board that I've not done.
What is this Kilter board climb that's harder than Megatron?
It's so hard. I mean, it's been done by quite a few people. It's called Jellyfish, and it's at 40 degrees, so it's not like super steep. It's just really weird. I've not like, I would try it for like, 20 minutes and then be like, yeah, I'm too tired now. Because it's just this one move it's fucked, man. Like, I can't do it.
Is this an Alex Megos boulder?
No, I think Noah Wheeler did the FA.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I know. I think like Ben.
I mean, what did you call when you did that? That in the Board Lords, you did that TB2 problem. Was it the first V17?
Oh yeah, how soon is now? Yeah, I don't know if that's been done since.
Okay.
It has.
And how does this one on the Kilter stack up? Harder?
It's just like two moves. It's just weird. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's like impossible to compare, like a two move 40-degree boulder versus like a, I don't know, 8-move 60-degree boulder or whatever it is. Jellyfish it's a funny climb. I'll
look that one up. I actually I just recently put a Kilter board in my basement. I'm so psyched. Like literally like a few weeks ago. So
well, you should go and look at it after this. You should light it up.
I'll light up Jellyfish, but like at dead vertical and see if I can do it.
It would maybe be harder at vertical, honestly.
Oh, really?
It's like,
all right.
Yeah. Like genuinely it could be.
Something to aspire towards. But okay, I've digressed. I've taken us off topic here. So aside from Jellyfish, 5 days was Megatron. Everything else has gone in that amount of time or under, which is really astonishing. And I guess before we get into the nitty gritty about your projecting process on those boulders and just in general, like how does that strike you? Most people project things. Some people project things for years, and Daniel Woods on Return of the Sleepwalker. I mean, there's just like so much like kind of lore around these hermit like projecting processes, and Carlo Traversi on the dark side. That doesn't speak to you, or you've been prepared to have longer projecting and then you've just been able to put it together lightning fast?
I guess it doesn't speak to me, first of all. Like, yeah, maybe it will at some point, but that's just not really what I want. 5 days was about perfect for me to have like an intense process on something. And there are boulders that I know would take longer than Megatron that are lower grade, that just aren't my style as much, or are more conditions dependent, or season dependent and tactics dependent, where you have to have a combination of the right breeze and the right pair of shoes and the right whatever, and stuff like that. It just would take me longer because I haven't learned how to climb in that style yet, but it also just doesn't interest me as much as the style of Megatron and No One Mourns the Wicked, which is kind of, it's a fight. Like, I got all the moves done, and then it's like how well can you climb is really the game. It's not really about anything else. Like on some of my attempts on Megatron, where I like would drop the last move, I would rest for like 2 or 3 minutes after my last go, and then pull straight back on, and like I'd still be able to get to the same point because I would have so much like try hard, if that's the right word. I mean, try hard is not the right word, but it's something else. It's like a try hard that doesn't actually involve like trying hard. It's a more subtle like feeling than that. But I just love that style of climbing. Yeah, that's really what climbing's about to me is it being a kind of canvas to express yourself. And what that means to me is it just very quickly becomes not about climbing on stuff like that. Like Megatron was about mastering my own kind of thoughts and mind way more than the physical and technical side of it. By day 3, I was like, okay, I could do this climb today if I like do it right.
All right, y'all. I just want to take a quick second here to share a little bit about how I've been training my fingers lately. Hot topic, finger training, and I'm really excited about this. This episode here is supported by my friends over at Nature Climbing. They make beautiful portable lifting edges, hangboards, and holds using a combination of wood and real granite or real sandstone, and it's those rock edges that really set Nature Climbing apart. So I've been using their stone hanger, which is like a portable lifting block, and the 20 millimeter granite edge on that thing is unlike any portable hanger that I have ever used. The texture's amazing, first off, so I'm able to pull harder than I would on like a normal wood edge. And then here's the bonus. These things are specifically crafted to toughen your skin for real rock climbing. Emil Abrahamson introduced me to nature's stuff, and man, am I glad he did. I love it so much. I now mix in my wooden edge training with this granite edge from Nature Climbing, and my skin feels tough, and my pain tolerance is better now, so that when I get out on real rock and I'm pulling hard, I'm better prepared for it now than I've ever been because of this training that I'm doing on the granite edge inside, just like in my house. And the last thing that I'll say about these boards and blocks that Nature Climbing makes is that they are works of art. They're crafted from beautiful, sustainable natural materials, and they are made to last for your entire climbing life. You can get 20% off. That's right, 20% off using code STRUGGLE right there in your show notes. That's code STRUGGLE at natureclimbing.com. All right, y'all, just want to take a quick second here to tell you how I'm staying healthy and taking care of myself as I'm now pushing my body to the hardest limits I've ever pushed it as a rock climber. I'm in my 40s, I've got kids, I've got a job, I've got a couple jobs actually, and I'm training harder and climbing harder than I've ever done in my life. And the way that I'm fueling these gains that I'm working so hard to get is with Fizzy Vantage Nutrition. Y'all know Fizzy Vantage. They've been a sponsor of the show since the very first episode, and I've been a paying customer of Fizzy Vantage since long before there was ever a podcast. And why is that, Ryan? Why am I buying Fizzy Vantage products? Well, it's because they work. They're designed by climbers for climbers to help us climb our best. Every single day, I'm taking their supercharged collagen before I do like a little light fingerboard workout, like the Abra hangs that I've talked about here on this show, or before I go climbing or go to the gym. And I'm also fueling up either before or after a workout with one of their protein powders. It's like my sweet treat that I have. And the most important thing, as I mentioned, is that it works. Most coaches and doctors and dietitians are going to tell you that you should probably take in about a gram of protein per body weight every single day if you're an athlete and you're trying to fuel your gains. So for me, 155 grams of protein is a lot of protein in a day. And I love a whole foods diet, but I have to supplement in order to hit that goal. And I do it by using Fizzy Vantage. Hit that link right there in your show notes and you'll get 15% off pretty much everything over at the Fizzy Vantage store, or use code STRUGGLE15 at checkout to get that discount, and let's get after it. Can you talk me through that part of that process? It sounds like, tactically speaking, there's the breaking down of the component parts into different moves and positions and essentially the beta, and then there's a shift that happens and it's like, okay, how can I put this together? And does that mean for you trying really hard, to your earlier point, or does it mean not trying hard and essentially kind of going into more of like a flow state? And how conscious are you of that shift? Is it something that like you essentially work towards, or it just happens in the process?
Yeah. So when on a climb, you're at the point where you're like, okay, there's no physical reason or technical reason why I can't do this climb, which is essentially you've done it in overlapping sections and you're fit enough to do the thing. Then you just have to really ask yourself, what would possibly get in the way of me doing this thing? That's essentially all. All this like tactical thing is like really honestly asking yourself, why am I not doing this if I can do it? And like actually answering that question in a way. Which
So when did you ask yourself that question on Megatron, and what was the answer?
yeah, so I probably started asking that around session 3 once I started trying from the ground. And it's not like I would write it out and I'd like add, oh okay, oh this is the answer. It's like I found it. But there are different forms of the answer, and the answer is always a feeling. It's not like when I'm on the climb I have words in my head, which is like, oh no, what if I fall on this move? It's not words, it's feelings, and the feelings kind of represent narratives. And I mean, it's just going to turn into like a session of psychoanalyzing ourselves. Like for me on Megatron and on many other things, the the kind of thing that gets in the way is me like having a fear of what would happen if I actually did the climb, like of kind of worrying about the future in the positive sense. It's like there's hesitation in that just because I've had a complicated relationship with success in the past where I've like really been trying to achieve this one thing, which is like winning competitions, and that hasn't brought me happiness at all. And so I have this kind of complicated relationship with success where I have to really check in with myself to see if it's actually what I want or if it's just what I think I want. And
Hmm.
once it's actually what you want, once you've kind of gone through this unraveling process in your mind and you are at a place where you truly wholesomely want success, where it's not like you're chasing anything really or you're looking for anything. Once you kind of accept that that's the situation, and you can't lie about that, that's something which has to, actually just be felt. Then there's nothing that's going to stop you from doing the climb. You have to find that state, and then it's kind of up to you. And like if that's not the case, then you're probably not going to do the climb, really, if it's at your limit. If it's not at your limit, then yeah, you can like force your way through it, which is I think what a lot of people do generally. I see that a lot in competition climbing. It's like these people are absolute beasts, but they're not really enjoying what they're doing. But they've just gotten to such a point where they're above the things that they're climbing. That they're
Hmm.
better than the routes and they can force their way through it. And like you get people winning competitions with really horrendous climbing because they're so damn strong and good and technically way above the level they need to be. But yeah, that's something which I've kind of seen change and in myself, and that used to be me and my approach to it, and now I don't want to be there anymore. I want to, have those moments where it's like I outperformed myself. That like I just reset the boundary for what is possible for me. That's what I care about. It's like redefining what I see as possible and just to continually do that.
I'm curious how that perspective and that mindset comes into play when you start to struggle on a project. This is something that I experience quite a bit and that I've been struggling with as I've been focusing more on bouldering, which is that I'm accustomed as a route climber to pretty quick and linear progress and putting together sections and overlapping and just kind of working from the projecting to doing it. But bouldering, for me at least, has been quite humbling where the progress sometimes comes in micro steps or sometimes goes backwards. And so can you recall a time, it may be on Megatron or could just be on something else, maybe jellyfish,
Yeah.
where the progress has seemed to stall or maybe it's going backwards?
Yeah. So my framework around that, and I'm not sure if this framework is because it's how the world works or it's because it's a helpful way to see the world, but I see those things as lessons that are presenting themselves. Generally, that's just how I have kind of learned to see things. So these lessons will just keep coming up in your life. Like you'll have the same process on something over and over and over and over until you finally acknowledge that there's a lesson somewhere in there. And once you've learned that, then you can move on. And on Megatron, that was patience for me. I was very impatient at times on it. Like I like just not resting because I was like I'm here. I feel so ready to do this thing, and I was just being impatient essentially. But I wasn't realizing that that's what I was doing, or that there was a lesson to learn there. And I remember this one day where I was warming up at the gym, and I was about to go out, and it had rained quite recently. I think it had snowed, and it was like maybe going to be dry, but maybe still going to be a little damp up there. But I just wanted to go up anyway because I was like, I'm like ready. And I wasn't really ready. I was like aching because I'd climbed 3 days on. I was just so psyched.
Right.
And the kind of discomfort of that psych was weighing on me. And I was like, I just want to go and do it. And then I had this one conversation with Brooke at the gym, which has really stuck with me, Brooke Ravitu. And she was like, Hamish, like, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but don't go up today. And I was like, but I'm feeling really hungry for it. Like, I just want to go and do this climb. And she was like, okay, but like maybe you can learn to enjoy that feeling of being impatient and hungry for something. Like that can become something which is a positive. And instead of focusing on the discomfort of it, it can be like noticing how passionate you are in that moment and all this energy that you have. I was like, huh, like I just had never considered that. Like I could just completely change the way that I view impatience in that situation to be something which is actually enjoyable. And then it, like the next few days, it was like that impatience just became like a fun energy that I had inside of me. And it completely changed in that moment. And then I kind of tried to carry that through the rest of the trip and like on different boulders. And that one thing is 100% a part of the reason that I managed to do No One Wants the Wicked so quickly. Because I had learned that lesson and I thought of it when I was there. And I did everything right that I needed to. And then I like executed perfectly on that boulder.
It's like so rad, dude. I mean, like what a run that you went on, and to have this kind of personal, you know, almost spiritual breakthrough on Megatron, to really embrace that the impatience so that you can be more patient. That's really cool. What a great lesson to take into, as you said, No One Mourns the Wicked, which I'd love to talk about for a second here, because it's mind-boggling how fast that came together for you, but maybe not when you really zoom out and take a look at all the preparation that's gone into it. I'm curious from your perspective, and I've got specific questions about specific moves that I'd like to like really geek out on for a minute, so we can dive a little bit more granular than the esoteric where we've been so far. But I love the esoteric, so it just staying on that thread for another minute. When you were shifting and setting your sights to No One Mourns the Wicked, did you go into it with a plan of trying to put it together that quickly? Or was it just a product of all of the other preparation that you carried into that day?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a product of the other preparation. I mean, we didn't go to No One. I didn't plan on doing it in that trip. I didn't even know it was in Colorado. I'm going to be totally honest. Yeah, I went down like, I was just kind of thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like I did Megatron pretty quickly, still had like few weeks. I was like, okay. And then I learned No One Mourns the Wicked was a couple hours away. And I was like, yeah, like I'll go try that. I don't feel like I'm fully ready for like to start projecting again, but like I'll go see it. And like maybe I can do Defying Gravity or whatever. And I remember I was like feeling pretty sick when like that day as well. Like we just drove up the night before and like slept in the van, and then that morning, I woke up, I was feeling a bit better, and I was like, oh, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, I think I could do the whole thing today. I didn't know why, I was just like, I could do it. And I remember posting on Instagram that I was gonna go try Defying Gravity that day, But like in the back of my mind, I was also just painting. I was like writing the scene for like when I post the next day that I did, I did the low because I kind of had a feeling. And then yeah, we walked up there, and pretty quickly I figured out my like way to do the defying gravity crux move, which I guess yeah we can dive into it at some point. But I like figured that out really quickly, and then everything just fell into place after that. I really was very aware of practicing all the things I'd learned recently, like after doing Megatron, like in interviews and stuff, podcasts, and like writing stuff for Instagram and articles and whatnot. I like suddenly became way more aware of my process than I'd ever been before. Like it'd always been a subconscious thing, and then now it was like, oh no, I actually do have a process. I just didn't really realize what it was. And so like I'd been thinking about it a lot and speaking about that climb, and I think that just allowed me to be aware of all the ways in which I would limit myself and kind of avoid those. And then I kind of performed as well as I could.
Crazy. I mean, it's an incredible accomplishment. So congratulations. I'm sure you've heard it a million times, but it is. I mean, it was like groundbreaking and remains really, really groundbreaking for the sport. What you were able to do on that day, not feeling your best, which is great. I love that. I never feel my best. I've got 2 young kids and a job, and I never feel great. But now I know, okay, I can do it. I can do the hard thing. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the projecting for that if we could. And you started on defying gravity and working out that crux move before even playing around or trying the low.
Yeah, yeah. I remember getting there and touching the start holds of defying gravity and going, holy shit, this is way harder than I thought it was gonna be. I thought defying like the holes were gonna be positive, just because it looks like they are on videos. But like initially when I just saw the start holds, and I knew that like Colin and Noah had campused that move, I was just like, I can't hang these holds. Like, yeah, this is gonna be a rough day. But then I warmed up into it, and like I found my way through it. I chose to use the heel that Nathaniel used instead of like Noah used a really low foot, and Noah was with me that day as well, which was really great. Otherwise, again, like there's just no way I would have managed that if he wasn't there. And yeah, I think I did that move like maybe 8th try or something, like, and then did the boulder straight away pretty much. I found the next move hard as well.
That big move, like kind of hitting that slot with the right hand.
Yeah, I really struggled with that to do it the way that Nathaniel and Noah both do it. I did a different sequence there. I think maybe the same as Daniel did when he established when he did it. I don't know. I think so though.
Yeah, but it's a move that it's not a given. You do the crux move and then you still have a hard move in order to.
Yeah, it's a hard move. Like after you've done that crux move, the boulder is not over at all. Not even like I found that next move in the end like not much easier than the initial throw for me.
Wow. Yeah, God, it's so stunning. So you dispatched defying gravity fairly quickly, like you said. You worked the lower crux move handful of times, and then pretty quickly were able to put together that boulder, which is just iconic. I'm sure you were feeling psyched. And then the low to make it Nathaniel's No One Mourns the Wicked V17 was, for me, I'll just say what struck me the most, because I really want to hear if this was a strategy of yours, or maybe this is just naturally how you climb. It just struck me when I was watching it, Hamish, that you climbed that so fast. Like that low section, that traverse was like, I felt like I was watching it in like 2 times speed. And that, like, I don't know, it just didn't compute. And so I'd love to just hear what your thinking was around that, and if that's just, maybe that's just how you climb, and I haven't noticed that you just like run things so fast.
Yeah, I'll just speak through my process of doing the bottom bit quickly. So I tried the move to get into the start defying gravity is really hard. Like I was trying that with Noah, It's like I couldn't do it. I didn't do that move in isolation. I like could not find the body position. It's a really hard move just to come into the start position. And so I couldn't do that move, and I was like, huh, like it feels close, but I just can't quite figure it out. But I also know about myself that if I'm trying something from the ground, I'm just better than if I'm trying stuff in isolation. Like I kind of find my groove. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try from the ground. And I hadn't done the start moves. No one told me the sequence, and then I climbed into it, and I managed to do that move, and I nearly stuck the crux on Defying Gravity on my first go. It's like,
Oh my God.
okay. And then I did the boulder on my second go from the ground. Like
You sent No One Warns the Wicked on just the second go?
I think it's second or third.
What?
But like that's after I'd like tried to end it, but like of doing the intro move into the intro moves into that last move that gets you into Defying. And yeah, I climbed it really fast because I was like, if I can get into that left hand on Defying Gravity, I can get it well. Then I'm at some point today, I'm gonna do this climb. Like if I can just get there efficiently, then I'm gonna do it. So I decided that I was just gonna climb riskily, which is essentially not waiting to feel until a foothold or handhold is weighted before moving, but kind of moving as if it is on like one touch climbing. And it's risky, technically. Like, I mean, it's maybe not risky if you're in the right like headspace because it works out. But if you're not in the right headspace, then it's just going to be sloppy. And I was doing this thing that I've been practicing a bit where I like, when you're climbing, usually you like look at the handhold and then the other handhold and the foothold. Like your eyes kind of follow where you're going. And I still kind of do that, but all my attention is in my periphery when I'm doing that. Like even just like now looking at you, I can just like focus out here. I can like see my fingers. You can't, but I can see my fingers. And climbing like that, I think is psychologically like the best trick for smooth climbing. Like that's the simple way of putting it. It's like it's a headspace, but like just focusing on your periphery is like the easiest way to kind of get insight into that headspace. Like that's what it feels like. And so I was doing that with my vision, and that kind of allows you to move all of your body parts kind of at the same time, and like to see where everything is and to feel where everything is without it having to be sequential, like left hand, left foot, right foot. It's more like everything is just kind of moving in this continuous motion, which is just the most efficient way to climb. And yeah, that is just what allows me to climb so well on that first bit. Because watching it back, I was like, holy shit, I climbed that so well into that first move. Like, it felt good.
Yeah.
But like, that's like, those like, I don't know, 7 moves or whatever, it's like some of the best climbing I've ever done. And it's not crazily hard, I guess. It's like V13 into the 15. But most of that 13 is condensed into the final move, I would say. But still, it's like I really managed to execute that, and I climbed with so much trust on it that my feet were in the right positions, and I was like moving before having that feedback of I'm safe.
Yeah, that's incredibly interesting. And as soon as you said that, that really brought into more relief what my experience was in watching it, because I was like, God, he is just like sprinting this thing. But I think what doesn't quite compute in my brain is that was your second go on that section. So, because like it would make sense to me that if you had been working on that sequence for days, then you could soften the gaze, do the one-touch climbing and speed through it because you'll have had muscle memory about where everything is in your body position. But you were somehow able to attain that just after a go. And do you know why or what you were able to tap into to have flowy, fast climbing on essentially a flash go?
Yeah. Well, I guess the way to think about it is if I was having to tell each limb what to do and remember the sequence, I wouldn't be able to climb like that. If I was having to be aware of like, okay, right hand here, then my left, and this hold is for my left foot, and I was kind of narrating it not necessarily in words, but even just in that kind of state of mind of like trying to remember, trying to climb well, all of this stuff, like where you're feeling like you're in control of your body and what is happening, then I would not have been able to do that. But once you kind of let go of that narrative that you are the thing governing what your body does, and that you have to tell your left foot to go there, otherwise it's not going to go there. Once you let go of that, you can kind of access this state more easily. And my intention was to do the climb. Like my body essentially knew by this point that I was trying to do the climb, and it knew all the relevant pieces of information. It could see where the holes were. It knew what they felt like. It knew what sequence I had to do. And so my job as a mind, essentially, in this position is to quiet myself and step out of the way and just allow that intention to kind of actualize itself. And I mean, that's just like a complicated way of saying, of just chilling out. You know, it's like just like not stressing, not trying to be in control, trying to remember stuff, just like, yeah, just chilling out and like pulling on and then seeing what happens. That's literally, you can put it in so many cliche ways that don't really capture the like coolness of how it feels. But like that is essentially it.
Beautiful, man. Well, thank you for sharing that insight and just the experience, the feelings, as well as the thoughts, or the quieting, the lack of thoughts throughout it. It's from afar, it was shocking. You know, again, it was like, it almost just didn't make sense that you were able to do it, but hearing more about your personal experience with it, it does make quite a bit of sense. When you did top that boulder, what was the feeling?
It felt surreal, like fully surreal. Like it was just such a unique feeling that it wasn't even that intense. It felt like a joke. I don't know how else to put it. It felt like I was pretending that I'd done the climb, almost.
Yeah.
I think just because I wasn't expecting to do it, and I wasn't not expecting to do it, but I just didn't have expectation really in that moment. And then once I realized that I'd done it, I was like initially freaked out. Like once I'd like made it to the final hold like of the hard climbing, and I still had this like little exit sequence to do, then I was like a little freaked out because my hands were completely numb and like I couldn't feel what was going on. But then once I topped out, it kind of felt a bit awkward in a way as well. It was like I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to like face people and like share this in a way was the feeling. It's like I don't always love having to like face people after doing cool stuff and like go through those interactions of like being congratulated, because it's like doesn't feel like I did it in that moment. Like I couldn't really like take responsibility in a way, because all I did was like step out of the way, and then it doesn't feel like it was me who kind of deserves that. But it was good. It wasn't like a bad feeling at all. It was just like this is unique. Like I've never been here before, and I just I felt pretty lighthearted about it, really. Yeah, it was also, I think, a little different because I was there with Noah and he'd been trying the climb, and there's a part of me that felt like it was insensitive of me to have done that, and it wasn't. Like, and that, like, he didn't think that, and I don't believe that. But like that was a thought that was in my head. It was like, oh, I hope this isn't like awkward for him as well.
It's so interesting that you share that. I appreciate you sharing that, by the way, because I think that's a vulnerable thing to share, but it's also, I think, a thought that many of us have had inside and outside of climbing. Sometimes if I'm doing well in life, it could be with my kids or my job or climbing or whatever, I'm reluctant to share it with other people in my life who maybe are struggling, because just out of respect or care for their emotions or their emotional state. And so in climbing, we can experience that, especially if we're projecting something with a friend and we kind of want to just have that like send train where everybody simultaneously does the thing. It can be a little bit hard, regardless of what side you are on that. If your friend does it, you can feel a little bad, or sometimes they're on the thing. You're like, oh God, I hope they just pop off because I've still got some sessions I need to go on this thing. And then on the other side, when you do the thing, you can kind of feel guilty. It's just like I think our dinosaur brain. It's all just normal emotional stuff. But how interesting to hear that was part of your experience as well. And not a surprise because you seem like you're not a jerk.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I think I've just been in that position, like on the other side of that position before many times. And like, that was the initial feeling, is like, oh, I kind of know how that feels. And then the next feeling was like, I also owe him the respect to know that, like me, like I would get over it, and I would learn this would be remembered as a really cool day. Like it is also a matter of, as much as a matter of respect it can be to like not want to, show people how well you're doing. It can also be a respectful thing to like trust that they also have their days, and like I just going to see the like coolness in the day.
Really appreciate that nuance there, that perspective on that. And a cool day it was, man. Your post where you like just kind of gave a little timeline of the day was absolutely nuts. It was such like a bombshell kind of mic drop post. I mean, I didn't think it was real at first. I'm sure a lot of people didn't think it was real at first. It's so rad. And again, congratulations. And then, so you've like done 2 of the hardest boulders in the world. And Megatron is Megatron the least kind of repeated established V17? I guess there's been some brand new V17s proposed out there that have maybe just a first ascent, but Megatron, that one seems really hard.
Yeah, hard to say, but yeah, essentially it does seem like it definitely has this kind of mystique around it as being one of the hardest, but who knows? It just doesn't make any sense to like say that from a personal perspective, because I know there would be other climbs that I'd find harder than that.
Yeah, like a Kilter board climb. So.
Jellyfish.
Yeah, jellyfish. All right, well let's move on past the climbing here and just like kind of into life and things that you're doing beyond doing the hardest things in the world. And art comes to mind. I mean, we've been talking about some of your Instagram posts. The film that you did on Megatron was really beautiful, and the collaboration that you had on that, as well as just the writing, painting. I think you're into cooking. Like, you got a lot of things that you've got going on outside of climbing. So, like, what are you psyched on right now? What brings you a lot of joy outside of the climbing?
Yeah, lots of things. People, first of all, I would say. I like people. I like good people. I think that's just the coolest thing in the world, is that we get to, meet cool people and spend time with people. And climbing is the best way I've found so far in life to meet cool, like-minded people and develop relationships with them. I think that's incredible. So I try and have good company. That's number one. Yeah, cooking has always, not always, but for a while been something that I've really enjoyed. That's also a social thing for me. That's kind of why I like it. Yeah, painting kind of comes and goes, like with an enjoyment. Like I don't always enjoy it, but sometimes it just feels like I have to do it, and I do it because I know that about myself, and I try and bring paints and stuff wherever I go, just so I have that option if I have that feeling.
Just like some inspiration strikes, and you're like, I have a concept that I need to paint.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually I'll just like have too much caffeine and like feel like a little psychotic, and then that's usually how it goes. The caffeine gods take me. But
What a healthy outlet. A lot of people have too much caffeine and then like go deadlift or rave all night or something like that. You pull out a canvas.
Yeah. Also do enjoy raving all night. I think that's great. I think
There you go.
that's just such a cool thing to do. It's like just get a bunch of people together and listen to wiggly air and dance. I think that's also really cool. I don't know, there's just so many cool things. Like, you can describe any normal activity in an interesting way as well. Like, I think that a lot with I love listening to music, and it never ceases to amaze me that music is just wiggly air. Same with voices. It's It's so
Wiggly air.
I mean, it is like when like you hear the sound of a bird from like 50 meters away. That's like what you're hearing is the vocal cords of the bird vibrating the air, and then the vibrations in the air traveling 160 feet, and like the air around you is vibrating slightly, and then your ears pick that up, and then you can hear it. I just think that's incredible that you can like a bird can communicate something to you through air.
If this is you, like, on matcha, what are you like on mushrooms, Hamish?
Yeah, I do have a quite psychedelic worldview generally, I would say.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's so good.
yeah.
I love that, dude. I mean, I'm with you. Like sometimes I am just like blown away by the simple things that we take for granted. It's totally crazy. And just what you're talking there about the bird song that's traveling through, and we're like deciphering it with these little drums in our ears and all that. It's so great. Yeah, you've got the artist's mind. It's really cool how you've got these various outlets for it, and whatever strikes. If it's the caffeine and the painting, or if it's poetry or film or books. I love those outlets. So what do you have coming up? Like what's, obviously you're at World Champs right now in Seoul, but then in just a couple of days, long before this podcast comes out, that'll be in the rear view. Do you have more comps coming up, or are you shifting to outdoor passions and projects?
Yeah, this is the last competition of the year for me, so it'll be done after this, and I can return to outdoor stuff. I have some like sponsorship-y type thing, like obligations, but not obligations is the wrong word, but kind of obligations. Opportunities,
Sure.
yeah. When I get back from here in Europe, and then I'm gonna go to Finland in the mid October until the beginning of November with Noah.
What's in Finland, Hamish? I've never heard of any hard bouldering in
Yeah.
Finland.
No, it's got some stuff. No one really knows about it, but it's got some stuff. There's Burden of Dreams as people know. Yeah, that one.
Yep.
So
I've heard of that one.
that's something I'm really excited for. Not so much for the style of climbing, but more for the what it symbolizes to me. Because as a kid, I looked at that and I was like, so inspired, but like inspired from the position of I will never do that, and that's why it's inspiring. And now I'm gonna go there with the impression that it's so inspiring, and look how much I've grown. Now I like feel like I can do it. And then there's also Sisu project, which I just want to go and look at and climb on, because that's like one of Nali's projects from
Yeah.
10 plus years ago, which just looks incredible. I only saw it recently when it kind of came back into the vogue, but it just looks like the best piece of rock I've ever seen in my life. So I want to go check that out.
Yeah. It looks absolutely next level. I mean, how cool. Well, dude, good luck with all of it and have so much fun. This has just been like a joy-filled conversation for me. So I'm glad we could finally make it happen, and I'm grateful that you were able to take the time. Thanks for being you, Hamish.
Of course. Thanks for being you.
All right, my friends, that wraps up this regular episode with Hamish, but he just dropped a bomb at the end here, which is this trip to Finland, where he is going to work on legitimately trying to flash Burden of Dreams. We dive into that in great detail in the bonus episode that we've got now available right this second. You can listen to it over on Patreon or Apple subscriptions. If you're a Spotify person, then you can access the Patreon bonus episodes right there in your Spotify player. If you're an Apple person, you can double click right there in your Apple podcast player, or just pop over to Patreon. Wherever you go, it helps to support me so I can keep making this show. And also, I just really think it's worth it. You can get a free trial. You get like a week-long free trial or whatever, wherever you go. So no worries there. If you want to hear more from Hamish, and I'm telling you, you do, this is what is contained in this bonus episode. So yes, we talk a lot about the potential flash of Burden of Dreams. We talk about Nale's Sisu project and his other plans for when he's going to be out in Finland. I ask him, there's a lot of listener questions that came in, and so some of these came from listeners, some from me, but He's asked why he feels there's been so many new V17s that have come onto the scene recently. And I thought his answer was really interesting to that. And just as a little bit of a spoiler, he thinks we're not even close to seeing the strongest climbing in the world right now. In fact, he thinks there's 20-something climbers, like comp climbers, friends of his, that could do V17 right now. So he goes into more detail on that. We also talk about like what the next level, V18, V19, V20 might look like. We explore longevity and his views on how he might be able to stay healthy and have longevity in the sport. We talk about crag fuel, just like a million other things. And all of that is available right now for like a few bucks over on Patreon or Apple subscriptions, or free if you do the free trial. Either way, again, thank you. It supports me. You can hit that link right there in your podcast player and access all that stuff. And then, if you don't like it, then you can just quit. I think you'll like it. I think it'll make you a better climber, actually. And I think it'll make you happier, too, because you'll be helping me to keep the lights on over here in the podcast/utility closet. Okay, so that's the Hamish bonus episode. What else do I want to talk about here as my dogs are snoring on my feet? Oh, just my climbing. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold. What's new? Ryan, every time you record a podcast, you've got a cold. Well, I've got a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and so I guess that's just my life now, forever until they go to college. Or not go to college. I'm kind of encouraging them not to go to college. I mean, unless they want to. If they want to do like a profession that requires an advanced degree. But otherwise, geez, what's the point? I went to college, spent a ton of money, and now I'm a podcaster. Had some good times, though. I digress. What were we talking about? The cold medicine. Making me a little loopy, guys. Nobody's listening to this anyway. Just you. You're the real one. Thank you, you, for continuing to listen. Climbing. Well, I'm going to release a plog episode now. It's probably out. It's probably been out for a few days, actually, by the time you listen to this. So that'll go into like all the details of my climbing from the past month. But I'm getting outside a lot. It's still really hot in Kentucky, but I'm getting outside to the red. We've got Rocktoberfest that is happening right this moment as you're listening to this, if you're listening to this on release day or that weekend. So that's going to be a party. Fitness is not great, but my focus this year isn't on fitness. My focus this year is on strength and power and becoming a rock star boulderer like Hamish McArthur. And so I've actually been trying that claw grip that he was talking about. I can put like no weight on it. I don't know, maybe 10 pounds or something like that. But I've just been playing around with it in my warm-ups like he suggested. And just going so hard on the Kilter board right now. I put a Kilter full ride in my basement. It's adjustable. It's 10 by 10 and is adjustable 35 to 60 degrees. I put a video out on that recently. If you'd like to check out how I did that build, I hinge it from the ceiling. But anyway, I've been going hard on the Kilter board, and I am so psyched about the progress. I can't even tell you. I'm like climbing the hardest, snappiest bouldering style I've ever climbed in my life. And the improvements are coming in leaps and bounds. So really psyched on that. I am starting to build some fitness for Red River Gorge season because my heart is in the red and I want to climb some long pumpy routes this fall. So probably talk more about that on the plog. You can tune into that. And yeah, that's about it. How's your training going? How's your climbing going? Why am I always the one that's just talking? Can you talk? Start a podcast and tell me about your training and climbing. Don't just start a podcast. I don't need any more competition. But you can let me know. You can send me a message on Instagram, or if you are smart and you become a Patreon supporter, you can DM me right there in Patreon, and we also have a group chat in there. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you. I really, really appreciate your support, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Hamish. I want to give a shout out to Glenn Walker, who helps me to edit these podcasts. I want to give a thanks to the Untitled Foundation and all the amazing work that they're doing to keep our world a clean and better place, and helping to support all of these amazing projects around the world to use solar energy to change the lives of local villages and businesses. They're just so awesome. So thanks and shout out to the Untitled Foundation, and thanks and shout out to you who love climbing just like me. We're all in this together. I love you. I hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you soon.